Within the wizarding world, there are few spells that can rival the darkness of the unforgivable curses. Crucio taps into every nerve in the victim's body, causing them all to light up at once. Imperio steals the very agency of the victim, forcing them to bend to the will of the caster's any whim. And of course, we have the Avada Kedavra curse, which tears the soul from the victim's body, leaving them dead. But since the release of the Fantastic Beasts films, there's one curse in particular that leaves me honestly just as afraid. It's a blood curse that replaces the mind and the soul and the memory of the victim, sweeping them away and leaving them only with the mind of a beast. Today on Magical Theory, we discuss Maledictuses and the possibility that one very beloved animal on Hogwarts campus could be one, the giant squid. Let's discuss. Fans of the films may be somewhat unfamiliar with the giant squid, as it strangely made no appearances despite being a mainstay on Hogwarts campus, similar to Peeves the poltergeist, although admittedly less prevalent. While the giant squid never performs any magical feats or honestly contributes to the plot in any way, we at least can confidently say that it is magical. For one, giant squid live in quite deep parts of the ocean. Our beloved Hogwarts giant squid, by contrast, is often seen toward the surface, sometimes sunbathing in the shallows, allowing its tentacles to be tickled by students and the like. I also mentioned ocean, which is notably saltwater, while most lakes like the Black Lake on Hogwarts campus are freshwater. A real giant squid would not be able to survive there. Another hint that the giant squid is magical is its kind nature, helping Dennis Creevey back into the boat on his first evening at Hogwarts when he fell in the water. Real giant squid are violently carnivorous, even devouring their own kind, so I doubt that little Dennis Creevey would have escaped mealtime if we were dealing with a typical giant squid. Oh, and students feeding the giant squid bread? Pretty sure that would make a real giant squid quite ill. As a friendly aside while we're on the topic, we really should stop feeding ducks and fish bread as a treat, as it's very unhealthy and potentially life-threatening for some species to eat. It's a nice gesture and it's fun to watch them gobble up some tasty carbs because they just can't help their little selves, but sadly it really does them no favors. Back to the video. So is the giant squid magical? Almost certainly yes, though does that make it a Maledictus? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start by discussing what we know about this terribly tragic blood curse. The only known Maledictus from the movies and books is Nagini. During the Harry Potter series, we merely know her as Voldemort's pet snake, who is made into a Horcrux when Voldemort murders the Muggle, Frank Bryce. The Fantastic Beasts films have since expanded on the character, however, depicting her as a woman suffering from a blood curse that, for the time being, allows her to transform into a snake in ways at least visibly similar to an animagus. Depressingly, however, we learn that Nagini will eventually lose the ability to turn back into a woman, slowly losing her human mind and sense of identity. I can only imagine that this makes every transformation all the more frightening, constantly wondering if this is the last time before the inevitable dulling of the mind. In a way, it reminds me of the short story Flowers for Algernon, where a man with significant mental disabilities takes part in an experimental operation that makes him wildly intelligent for a time. He manages incredible accomplishments and even falls in love, only for the effects to eventually slowly wear off. He hides himself away in the end, gradually feeling the man he'd become slip away from him like water cupped in his hands. Truly heartbreaking. J.K. Rowling has stated on Twitter that Maledictuses only affect women, and that the animal form is not always a snake, but depends on the type of curse. While we may not know if the giant squid is male or female, this at least tells us that the Maledictus affliction doesn't just turn women into snakes. Other prime indicators that an animal is a Maledictus rather than a simple, non-magical critter is their lifespan and behavior. In the Fantastic Beasts films, we meet Nagini as an adult woman in 1927, and yet we see her alive and quite spry as a snake until she is, well, beheaded by Neville Longbottom in the spring of 1998, 71 years later. In the films, the snakes playing Nagini were reticulated pythons and Burmese pythons, neither of which species lived past their 20s. According to the Smithsonian Museum, giant squid are estimated to only live about 5 years. Given the fact that the giant squid makes its appearance also in Hogwarts Legacy, the video game that takes place in the year 1890, it feels safe to say that it exceeds the lifespan of a normal giant squid by just a bit. I also doubt that there are multiple giant squid in the Black Lake procreating, meaning this could be a different giant squid descended from that one, because I can barely believe that one can fit in there, let alone multiple. And in terms of behavior, we've already covered it. Squid are not friendly creatures and will take just about any chance they can get to feed on some nearby sources of meat. So seeing the giant squid performing the role of basically a playful protector of students is more than a little humanoid. So it is that we find ourselves arrived back to our original question. Is the giant squid a Maledictus? While there may be no smoking gun that the giant squid itself is a Maledictus, this theory will continue to live in my own personal headcanon. The giant squid is clearly a species apart from the non-magical variety, and none of the other forms of animal transformations can really explain the giant squid's absurdly long lifespan. In the end, I suppose it's up to you to decide. Let me know in the comment section if there are any other burning theories that you have about the wizarding world. I've been Riley, this has been Magical Theory. Have a magical day.